Hi everyone, welcome to our first Facebook Live question and answer session. I've got some questions already coming in and I'm going to start with those unless anybody has been eagerly waiting in the wings ready to jump on and ask me a question. Please just remember that all advice that I'm going to be giving during this session is going to be generic. I can't give very specific advice for confidentiality reasons, and obviously it's hard to do that in a quick sum up, and I don't want any one person to monopolise time so I can get round as many people as possible. So obviously after the session, if anybody wants to make an appointment with myself, then we'll put the contact details on there and you will know how to get hold of us. But for now, we'll probably start with first question that we've had in advance.
Yeah, so someone who couldn't make it onto live this afternoon actually inboxed us and said that they have two children. They're separated from the children's dad. The children don't see the dad, and her parents are the primary carers when she's working. And she's just concerned that should something happen to her, that her parents wouldn't automatically get to look after those children, because they're the children, obviously, the children are used to them and they've lived with them for a long time. So she's just worried, what should she do in this situation?
Yeah, this one is one of those where there's a misconception generally that we have in law, but also in life when it comes to just common sense as well, is that the vast majority of younger couples or younger families think that they don't need a will because they've not really got much to think about, they've not really got any assets, that kind of thing. And the primary example of why they need wills is to appoint a guardian. Now, in the advice that a qualified solicitor should be giving you is that when somebody dies, and that's the primary caregiver for any child, you can appoint a guardian, that's fine. She could do a will that appoints her parents as the guardians, but it will not override parental responsibility. So if there is a father that does have parental responsibility, that guardianship in a will not override it. However, what it does do is give some credence to what the wishes were of that particular parent should they have died, because otherwise, if they die and say nothing on the matter, it would be up for the grandparents to have to go to court and prove that they were a better option for the children to look after. It would always help if you had the wishes of the now deceased there to back that up as well. And again, for couples who have not separated and they do have children together, they should do it, because very often I see couples and I say, right, who's going to be the guardian if you're both dead? And they both go, oh, it's going to be my parents, and look at each other and then go, what? I thought it would be mine. What you don't want is there's so many people to jump up and look after your children that we don't know who the right one is. And then again, it's a court issue that we have to have dealt with because the right person has to be appointed. So don't make assumptions that the right thing will just automatically happen on your death if you have young children. Make a will, appoint your guardians, have that discussion about it as well. But yeah, it cannot override parental responsibility. Hope that answers that one.
It does. I think people are being a bit shy. We've still not got any questions on the live, but I have got another inbox. Mm-hmm. And this was seemed simple to us, but it was just saying a gentleman has a business and he's been actively watching our Facebook and seeing how we talk about these processes and reviews that need putting in place. But he's wondering why he needs one for a business, because he thought they were just for people that have no capacity. So why would a business owner need to have powers of attorney?
A power of attorney and a will for business owners is effective succession planning as well. As a business owner, you should be doing a certain amount of business planning around that to make sure that should the worst happen to you, if you die or you get ill to the point where you're incapacitated, that you've got some form of business succession in place, that your business doesn't just stop, collapse, shut down, bills are not getting paid, invoices are not being chased. Because for a lot of us small business owners, you're the be all and end all to that business, and without you, it kind of all stops or collapses, or sort of everybody runs around with, like a headless chicken. So it's definitely the right idea to get some sort of planning in place, so should the worst happen, temporarily or permanently, that your business can continue for the benefit of the rest of your family as well as yourself. So for me, for example, I have another solicitor who works for me, who is my power of attorney, so my attorney for the business use only. That means that we can always carry on business if I'm not here, if I'm incapacitated, the accounts don't get shut down, wages get paid, simple things, the very basics that you are responsible for as a business owner. If you're not there, the basics aren't being done, so you need to legally appoint somebody who can do, because Tom, Dick and Harry can't just show up and say, well, I'm the spouse and I need to access the business accounts. You might have a business partner as well. There's a whole lot going on with that, and you need to make sure that you're safeguarding your business, not just your family, and that's the perfect way to do it. They are also a legitimate business expense as well, so please make an appointment and ask me about that, because a lot of people put that one off, and it's really important for us. But you've worked your entire, blood, sweat and tears to create this little baby of a business. Don't let it go to waste for getting ill from one document not being done, basically.
Okay, I've got another question for you, Joel. This was about a lady got in touch with us and said that her dad lives on his own. When they saw the video about helping parents more and more, she realised that she's helping him a lot more, and she's actually having to go to the bank for him, and she's already paying his bills and withdrawing his money, so she doesn't really understand why she would have to pay this extra service for power of attorney if she's already able to do those things for him now.
Okay, so they're basic things, and they're just kind of helpful, very small day-to-day helpful hints that you can do, but ultimately they're not legal either, because you shouldn't be using any other bank card, withdrawing any money or doing anything such as that without the legal power of attorney to do it. So when you are a power of attorney, you get your own bank card, your own checkbook, and it says, I don't know, Joanne Bury, attorney for whoever it is, and for me that's my dad. And then you're doing it legitimately. You keep good records. What you don't want is anybody outside of that agreement that you've got with somebody who then could lose capacity, is that you're accessing and have been accessing that bank account. You don't want questions from the local authority if they swoop in and suddenly get involved because you don't have the power of attorney. They're getting involved, and then they're questioning everything that you tried to do as well. You're opening yourself up to more problems than you can possibly imagine, and we see it day in, day out on the other side when that has happened. Do things the right way from the beginning, and even if you're finding that, oh, it's okay for now and I'll just do that and it's helpful, at some point it's going to be something major that you have to do, and that won't cut it. That just won't be enough. And the problem is, at that point you've probably been getting along so far, that getting on by with what you're doing with the small bits, that probably by the time you need to do a big bit, capacity is lost of that person that you're trying to help. They cannot sign a power of attorney, so you've been doing the bare minimum, and now you're not actually able to help with the big stuff because you weren't doing it properly to begin with. So again, if you're worried about that and you want some advice, please do get into contact with me. I'll tell you what you shouldn't be doing, what you should be doing, and also helpful tips as well. But accessing somebody's bank account for them with their card, going to the bank with their card, is on its basic level theft. So you really should take the right advice. I'll tell you better ways that you can deal with it rather than that.
We have got a message, and it's come from another lovely lady, and she's just saying that she does recognise what you're saying about needing to help her parents more, but she doesn't even know how to broach this subject with them without making them feel like she's telling them they're not able anymore.
Oh, that they're not capable?
Yeah.
So for elderly parents, it's usually this issue of control or this independence, and the minute they feel like they're giving over some of that independence or control to a child, it's difficult for them, and that's when they kind of start to get into this, it's a conspiracy, you're taking things off me, that kind of thing. It's not. Powers of attorney are absolutely the opposite. They are about retaining control completely. Your parents need to know that if they cannot access their own stuff, that they have retained control of their stuff via giving the key to it to the people that they wanted, not being dealt the local authority, basically. So approaching it in the right way is key. Going up to them saying, you need to make me signatory on stuff, is not going to get you anywhere at all. Going and asking them, if something happens, what do I do? What do you want me to do for you, so that I can always do what you need me to do? That's a much better way of approaching it, that children often don't. It's like, Mum, Dad, I need to sort you out, I need to do this, I need to do that. It's not I. What do they want? And ask them. And if you ask them the right way, they'll tell you. But don't get their backs up straight away. Obviously, I've got extensive experience of having dealt with that with parents, elderly, when I have elderly clients anyway, but also when you're dealing with somebody who's in the early onset of Alzheimer's, where things do seem to be a conspiracy to them, and it's about having the right conversation. So if you are worried about that, I would say get in touch with me, tell me what you're dealing with at home, tell me what it's like, and then I'll give you tips and hints on how to start that conversation off. also it's on our 8 steps as well on our website.
Just 1 second, I'll see if we've got any more questions for you. How are you enjoying your first Facebook Live?
It's not so bad, I'm talking. I feel like I'm talking to you. That's fine.
Oh yeah, so here we go. So this gentleman is separated, remarried, but the other partner is still in the marital home. He wants that house to go to his children afterwards. Is that how it's going to work? If that's his wishes, will his home go to his children? If
without
anything,
a will, or
yeah. Well, I'm assuming he's got no will because he's just saying that's what he's made his wishes clear to his family. That's what he wants. But will that happen?
Okay, making your wishes clear to your family is absolutely fine. It means absolutely nothing in law, unfortunately, unless you've got a legal document to back that up. So, absolutely making a will is the right way to go with anything. Again, don't just assume anybody will do the right thing when you've died. Don't assume that they're not going to have their own interests at heart as well with it. Definitely make the will. Definitely put those wishes into a legal document that have to be abided by, and make sure you've got executors to do that. Whether you know it's a power of attorney or a will, the point is the same. One just deals with you stuff on death and who it is dealing with that, and power of attorney is during your lifetime effectively. But don't count on people to do the right thing, because they generally don't, or they get prevented from doing that. Being next of kin doesn't actually necessarily mean anything unless you don't have a will, and then the laws of intestacy really kick in, and it might not be what you want at all.
So if he's not in the house, will the house then go to his partner? If it doesn't make a will it go to his partner, his currently married wife, or?
So it depends on what the land registry says about the house. It depends on the ownership of the house at source, and if that is that the wife who they're separated from but not yet divorced, if she is the other owner, then automatically on death it belongs to her by the fact that she survived him, regardless of whether he wanted to give it to his kids or the cat's home. It doesn't make a difference. That happens without the will or the proper advice for it. On intestacy as well, it's a misconception that your wife gets everything or your husband gets everything just because you're married. It doesn't. It means the first £270,000 does, but not above that. And then the intestacy rules kick in, and it gets a bit more complicated whether you have children, whether you don't. It's a whole thing. That's the last thing you need. Well, it's the last thing your family need. You're gone and you don't particularly care, but it's the last thing your family need to have to deal with. At that point, we pick up the pieces so often for families, and it's heartbreaking when you give the news that they didn't want to hear. They wanted to hear that what the parents had told them was going to happen is going to happen. And if the parents didn't make wills, then there's not a lot we can do about it at that point.
So I've got one more question. So if anyone else has any questions, now's the time to get them in before Joanne gets back to her busy, hectic schedule. So the last question I've got here is that someone said they've seen other firms, legal firms, offering advice in regards to care home planning. Like, what does that? They don't understand what that means. What is care home planning? Why is there a legal aspect to it?
Okay, so you can't just sort of give away all of your money so that there's nothing left, and you've got, you've worked your entire life, I get that, and you don't want to give it away to the local authority, or your parents have worked their life and you don't want to see it given away to local authority for care. And I get that. But the point is, you can't just get rid of assets. So I get a lot of people saying to me, oh, put my house into the kid's name, and therefore they will own it and I won't, and there will be no care to foot in terms of costs. That's absolutely the wrong thing to do. I can't tell you how many times we tell people, yeah, I'm not doing that for you. It's not the right thing to do. I could list about 10 to 15 different reasons as to why that's not a good idea. I won't bore you all with them here right now, because that's the advice that should be given to a client on an individual level. But there are ways and means of care home planning which doesn't include giving away your biggest asset straight away to the kids because of the repercussions, or in fact getting sort of repercussions from the local authority in court proceedings because you are doing what they call avoidance, or you're deliberately depriving yourself of assets solely not to pay for care. So in a nutshell, if you have assets, or if you have capital in your accounts, your assets, your house, whatever it is, if you are worth effectively more than £23,250, you will be funding your own care until it gets to that level out of either capital or out of income. And that's what people worry about. And the biggest one is the house. So it's important to take relevant advice about care on plan, fee planning for your individual circumstance, because for some people, to make care on fee planning means that they're creating themselves an inheritance tax risk on the other side, and you're kind of working out which is the lesser of two evils. It's really, really important that somebody looks at your individual situation, your individual assets, and tells you what's good for you. And if that means saying don't do anything, or you know, you can pay thousands of pounds for a trust but it's not right for you, then that's the advice that you need, not something that's going to make somebody any money. It's getting the correct advice for your situation. So I'd invite, again, people who are thinking about that to give me a quick call. We'll discuss what your current situation is and I'll give you your options, and then more importantly we'll avoid pitfalls.
So people might watch this live a little bit later on and might still have questions. So are we going to invite them to send more questions your way? We might do a live in the future, or
yeah, we can do one in the next few weeks. If we get a lot of questions and there's still loads of stuff that you want in the open, that's absolutely fine. For those who want to come to me directly and book an appointment, that's absolutely fine. We can work out 15 minutes to have a quick chat about what you need to be thinking about, and I can guide you in the right direction. In the meantime, if you want to head over to our website, it's www.burys, that's B-U-R-Y-S, -solicitors.co.uk, and on there you'll be able to click a link and there is my 8 top tips, which includes having that discussion with your parents, putting into fruition processes so you can protect your parents as well, look at care on fee planning, and all of those things that you've probably got a bit of a question about, or where do I start. That's probably your answer in the first point, and then making appointments. But yeah, it's over there, or you can contact us on 01200 405 026.
well done.